All right, let's just dive right into this explainer, because today we are looking at something that absolutely shatters a massive fitness myth we've all been taught. Seriously, we've always been told that fat loss requires brutal workouts, endless discipline, and just constantly fighting our bodies. But we're going to uncover the actual biological blueprint of nocturnal fat loss. We're going to explore the exact mechanisms of why your body really only burns the most dangerous type of fat, visceral fat, while you are sound asleep. And more importantly, how you can stop accidentally sabotaging your most valuable metabolic window.
So let me ask you directly, when do you think your body actually burns fat? I mean, if you're picturing sweat literally dripping down your face while you're gasping for air on a treadmill, you are definitely not alone. The modern fitness industry has totally conditioned us to believe that sweat equals fat melting in real time. But physiologically, that's kind of just an illusion. During a workout, your body is entirely focused on mobilizing quick energy, not burning through your long-term storage.
And well, this brings us to a really foundational rule of our biology, the idea that exercise is just the request, sleep is the execution. When you work out, you aren't actively burning visceral fat, the dangerous fat wrapped around your liver, pancreas, and heart. Instead, you're sending a physiological memo. You're increasing insulin sensitivity and flagging a desperate need for energy. But the actual approval and execution of that memo, that only happens later, during a specific uninterrupted 7 to 8 hour metabolic window while you are deeply asleep.
Okay, Section 1. The Tale of Two Managers. To truly get how this works, we basically need to completely flip how we view our metabolism. Think of your body as this high-functioning factory run by two distinct, entirely non-overlapping managers. On the left, we have cortisol. Cortisol is the day shift manager. His entire job is survival, alertness, and quick reactions. When he's in charge, fat burning is biologically prohibited because the body is hoarding resources for potential threats. On the right, we have growth hormone, the night shift manager. This manager, she doesn't care about your emails or tomorrow's deadlines. Her sole job is deep repair, rebuilding tissue, boosting immunity, and fueling all of this incredible regeneration by burning stored visceral fat.
So here is the absolute crucial point. It's a hard biological rule. No overlapping shifts allowed, period. These two hormones cannot run the factory at the same time. If cortisol is clocked in and active, growth hormone is completely locked out of the building. Your brain literally refuses to switch into repair mode. You could be working out flawlessly during the day, but if cortisol is still managing the floor when you hit the pillow, that visceral fat isn't going anywhere.
Moving on to Section 2, the night shift saboteurs. Now, this biological lockout, it perfectly explains why so many of us do everything right during the day, yet see absolutely zero results. We are unknowingly forcing the day shift manager to work unauthorized, destructive overtime. In our modern world, we're just surrounded by saboteurs that confuse our biology. We bombard our eyes with blue light from screens. We push our brains with late-night work emails. And we graze on snacks right up until bedtime. Every single one of these common habits is a direct biological command keeping cortisol wide awake and on the clock. Let's actually break down exactly how this sabotage works. Our brains use light as a master clock, right? So blue light tells your brain, hey, it's high noon, aggressively blocking melatonin. And it's wild how our brains process stress. Late emails trigger the sympathetic nervous system. Your brain literally can't tell the difference between a looming deadline and a looming predator. Both are processed as a major survival threat. And late carbs, they spike insulin, sending a loud signal that incoming energy is still arriving, which strictly prohibits the breakdown with stored fat. You aren't just delaying sleep here, you are actively commanding your body to hold on to fat. No way around it.
All right, Section 3, building the sleep slope. So what do? How do we safely and naturally tell the day manager, hey, go home? Well, we have to intentionally wind down our biological activity through what's brilliantly called the sleep slope. So many of us treat sleep like a light switch. We go from 100 miles an hour, stressed, staring at screens, digesting food, and then just hit the bed, expecting the brain to instantly slam on the brakes. But biology doesn't do on and off. It requires a slope, a gradual, biologically sequenced ramp down of signals.
And this builds into a really practical master timeline. Now, this isn't about rigid rules or, sheer willpower. It's about providing the exact sequence of environmental cues your brain has evolved to recognize. We're going to step down the daytime signals, layer by layer, starting a few hours before bed, to basically roll out the red carpet for the night shift.
Okay, step 1. Ideally, 3 to 4 hours before sleep, just close the kitchen. Because every time you eat, your insulin spikes, and since insulin is a storage hormone, its mere presence directly blocks fat breakdown. If you go to sleep digesting a late meal, your body spends the whole night managing blood sugar and gastrointestinal workload instead of burning visceral fat. By stopping early, insulin drops, clearing the way for repair. Now, a quick side note from our sources. If you're someone who regularly wakes up at 3 a.m. due to nocturnal hypoglycemia, a tiny protein-rich snack like a spoonful of nut butter might be necessary as a temporary bridge. But the ultimate goal? Closing that kitchen early.
Moving to step 2, about 2 hours before bed, recreate the sunset. Your eyes are basically exposed pieces of your brain, acting as endocrine sensors. Dim the overhead lights. Switch to low-level, warm orange lamps. If you absolutely must look at a screen, throw on some blue light-blocking glasses, and not as a fashion statement, but as literal melatonin protectors. You have to convince your brain that the sun has actually gone down. Step 3, at the 90-minute mark, involves this fascinating biological paradox: heat therapy. Taking a hot shower or bath right before bed might seem like it would warm you up, right? But it actually draws your blood flow away from your core and out to the surface of your skin. So when you step out into a cool room, your core body temperature plummets rapidly. This sharp drop in core temp is a massive, natural trigger that induces deep sleep way more effectively than any pill.
At 60 minutes, we shift from the body to the mind. Because, well, the human brain is literally obsessed with unfinished tasks. It's a phenomenon known as the Zeigarnik effect. Lying in bed, thinking about unread emails, literally keeps cortisol pumping. The solution is incredibly simple: a brain dump. Physically write down tomorrow's tasks, worries, and thoughts on a piece of paper. This outsources the data, sending a confirmation to your nervous system so your brain stops treating an unread email from your boss like an impending tiger attack.
Now, at 45 minutes, you can introduce some optional biochemical amplifiers. And to be clear, these aren't blunt force sleeping pills that knock you unconscious. They're just gentle supports for your natural calming mechanisms. Glycine helps further lower that core body temperature we talked about. Magnesium bisglycinate reduces the adrenal gland's sensitivity to stress signals. And apigenin, which you can find in chamomile tea, acts as a subtle natural sedative.
Finally, 30 minutes before sleep, the breathing step. We really want to actively switch the nervous system from fight or flight to rest and digest. By engaging in breathing exercises where your exhales are significantly longer than your inhales, you directly stimulate the vagus nerve. This acts as the ultimate biological emergency brake on your heart rate and cortisol levels. It is the final all-clear signal that lets the night shift manager safely clock in.
Which brings us to Section 4, working with your biology. Look, when you sequence these steps correctly, fat loss just becomes a natural, effortless byproduct of a system working exactly as it was designed to. If you take away anything from this explainer at all, let it be this: biology responds to harmony, not conflict. If you've been doing the daytime workouts, cutting the calories, and still waking up feeling heavy and inflamed, please understand you are not broken. Your metabolism isn't inherently flawed. You simply had a biological scheduling conflict. You are fighting a war against your own body, demanding it burn fat while simultaneously sending it signals that you are in mortal danger.
Because burning visceral fat while you sleep, it's not magic. It's simply the result of restoring your natural rhythms. So I want to leave you with this lingering thought. Are you ready to stop fighting your body, redesign your evening, and finally let your biology do the job it is desperately waiting to do?